Your manifestation is not going to miss you. It's out there. Follow your pings, process your emotions, process your blocks. Just keep showing up to your present day, and I promise your manifestation wants to connect with you.
From To Be Magnetic, this is the Expanded Podcast with your host, Lacey Phillips.
And your host, Jessica Gill.
As the leading destination for neural manifestation, we dispel the woo-woo in order to help you create real, tangible results based on neuroplasticity, psychology, epigenetics, and energetics. Our goal is to normalize the practice of manifestation and empower you to get into the driver's seat of your life in order to manifest the experiences, relationships, and things that most align with your authenticity. And by pressing play, the process begins.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Expanded. Jessica here. I wanted to kick off today's episode with a little grounding practice. I think we could all use one right now. No matter where we are at in the world, it just feels like a very intense time collectively. Got a lot of messages this week about rock bottoms people were hitting and just how they're having difficulty navigating. And I just want to remind anyone out there who feels like they're in the thick of it right now, try to prioritize a little bit of time to come back into your body, to ground into your body. When things feel out of our control, when things feel like, oh no, this is slipping away, or that's happening, or what if this happens? My recommendation is always ground back into the body. This is something that we learned from Janelle Nelson, who you've heard on the podcast. I've learned it from my therapist. It's so vital to be able to source that safety within. So wherever you are listening to this, just take a look around the space you're in. Look in front of you. Notice the details of what you see. Look to your sides. Are there any objects or things that stick out to you that catch your eye? Maybe something that feels soothing. Even look behind you. Just really anchoring into the space that you're in. And now look forward and have your eyes kind of lock in on something in front of you. It could be a spot on the wall, could be an element in nature, could be your pet. Whatever's in front of you that your eyes feel drawn to, just look at it for a moment. And gaze at that thing, grounding the present moment you have in your body. And now take a deep inhale. Hold it at the top and exhale everything out. Whew. You might want to shake off your wrists, or you can move around your body. Maybe move your hips, whatever feels good to you. And then put one hand on your heart, the other on your belly. Feel into your heart space. Feel into your stomach. And take one deep breath in. And exhale. And one more. Then just rub your palms of your hands side to side in front of each other like this, building some heat and just reminding yourself that you are in your body, you are in this moment, you are in this space. And right now, listening to this, you are safe. Feel free to return back to this exercise anytime you guys feel called. I know for me, when I'm feeling overwhelmed or out of control, the impulse is to try to fix, to try to solve. And actually, we have to slow things down so we can get really clear on what we want to do and how we want to navigate. Now, that being said, we are kicking off week 1 of our Authenticity Challenge. It, in so many ways, couldn't come at a better time Because I think one of the things that is most important when we feel like we don't know what steps to take forward, or maybe we have some clarity, but we need more, or maybe we just want to double down on our authenticity, double down on the hope for the future and what that could look like, it really roots down to connecting to your authenticity. And so this year's challenge, we are diving into what does it mean to be your authentic self? Who is that? What is your magic? What are your gifts? What is your authentic code? What is your authentic archetype? All these new exercises inside of week 1. And then in week 2 and 3, we're really going to peel back the layers. What is in the way? How do we source that safety from within so we can create more and more spaces where we feel safe to truly be our authentic self? This is going to be the key of taking our power back. This is going to be the key in creating the life that we desire, the world that we want, the dreams that we want. So I invite you guys to join us. We have our biggest sale of the year going on right now where you can get the lowest prices of the season. And we're going to be kicking off week 1, Monday, November 11th as a community. It is so powerful to be in community with people doing the challenges. It just gives this extra layer of accountability, but also motivation in so many ways because you see what is coming up for other people. You see the little mini manifestations that start to pop in, the major ones that start to pop in. And I actually am sharing today on this episode my solo process manifestation story of how I manifested my dream home with last year's challenge. So as you know, if you have done the TBM work before, we always say when you cast your list, have something that's realistic in the next 6 to 12 months. And this manifestation of mine came up around the 9-10 month mark. But there were a lot of chapters of needing to surrender in this. And also, when we're talking about manifesting a dream home or manifesting this other shiny object, it's never really about the material thing. It's truly about what is the story of what this object represents to you, how it can help support your authenticity, how it can support your soul, your purpose, your mission, all of these things. And really, how can you work through those inner layers, those inner blocks, those things coming in the way of what you actually desire in your life and utilize that process towards getting and achieving that thing by actually doing so much inner work. So if you guys are listening to us at this podcast for the first time, I hope you can start to hear some of the nuances of our manifestation process, how it is really rooted in that inner work, in that therapeutic work, in that self-reflection, in the inner child work, the shadow work, and how really approaching achieving your goals, achieving your dreams through this way can be so healing at the same time. I also touch on this element of surrender. We've gotten so many questions about surrender, and I just have some advice to give you guys there because it is one of the most challenging dynamics to move through. And then the last thing I want to note on this is one of my biggest blocks coming up through this process of manifesting my dream home was my lack mentality. I have chipped away at this thing over the years again and again and again. And I think we're going to do another episode on lack versus abundance mindset probably in the coming year. But this is something where lack mindset is truly how you look at the world and the ability for more to come through, more to come in. Not only, oh, I'm in lack mindset because I don't want to spend money on things, or I don't want to, waste this, or it can look like hoarding your money, or it can even look like being unwilling to spend on certain things. But the lack mindset can also be about how you take care of your own needs, how you take care of the things that are important to you. You can be in a lack mindset of how you honor your authenticity. It is not just about your relationship to money. It is how you see the glass ceiling on what is possible for you. So for anyone listening to this, if you identify with lack in any way, shape, or form, how can you start to chip away through this challenge at that mindset? How can you see that, okay, maybe I don't have the money I desire right now, but what income portals can I open? Am I in lack mindset of this very fixed way I thought I could approach making money? And maybe I need to broaden that. Maybe I need to open that up. What does my authentic soul really desire? Is there an income portal that aligns with that? Do I need to pivot? Is the thing that I'm chasing so hard really from my true authentic self? Where are the places that we're putting that glass ceiling on ourselves, on our dreams, on our potential? I just wanted to make that disclaimer before jumping in, because I think it is really important to connect that mindset of self-limitation to all of our aspects of life. Where are we giving our power away by saying, no, we can't do that. That's not for us. That's not possible right now. Oh, look at this, look at that. And having all these excuses. The abundance mindset is like, okay, here are the facts. This is what's actually happening. Could there be another way forward? Could there be another option? Could there be something I'm not seeing here? Could I open myself up to a different reality, a new potential, a new way of thinking in order for that to be a possibility? Abundance mindset is truly just magnanimous expansion. So how can we start to think about how we're approaching our lives, how we're approaching our authenticity from that more abundant mindset? And the other thing that I hope this episode brings you guys more than anything out there, I went into a lot more nuances and details. There's even more so than I wasn't able to get into all of in the episode, but magic is possible. Your wildest dreams are possible. They are out there. They are waiting for you to connect with them. They can happen sooner than you even realize. And when you can be honest with yourself and take those steps to move closer towards the life you desire, watch what opens up for you on the other side. We're so excited for you guys this challenge season. It is going to be such a powerful one. Join us at any time. Oh, and one reminder, if you have any manifestation stories, if you have any kismet things that are happening throughout this challenge, if you want to share about your authenticity and some things you're discovering, or if you have any questions, you have a more nuanced answer and have any questions throughout this challenge season, leave us a voice note. We have 2 SpeakPipe links in the show notes, one where you can leave us a question and one where you can share some expansion with the community, whether that's a mini manifestation, a major manifestation, a limiting belief, a new way of thinking, stepping into your abundance, whatever it is, share it with us. We want to help expand the community. Thanks, guys.
And now a word from our partners.
So you've heard Lacey share about her experience with the Bond Charge sauna blanket, and truly it is a manifestation come through for me as well. It is one of the number one things I get asked on from friends about how is it. So I'm going to share all my insights and tips around it here. The thing that I love about the Bond Charge blanket specifically that other blankets on the market don't have is that it is the lowest in EMF. You're getting the strongest high quality infrared lights in the blanket and all non-toxic materials that after you deeply sweat in the sauna, it's super easy. You just take a cloth, non-toxic spray, and just spray down the inside. It's so easy to take care of. And the thing that really sells me on the Bond Charge blanket over any other blanket I've used on the market is that you can go in with no clothes on. A lot of other blankets get so hot that you need a lot of layers to protect you from some of the infrared layers that are going on in there. The Bond Charge blanket is so well insulated that you can go in completely in the buff, sweat it out. You don't have to dry out your clothes. You don't have to wring out your socks. You can just come out, wipe down the blanket, take a nice cold shower, rinse off, and be so incredibly rejuvenated. It has been a game changer, like I said, in my mental health, physical health, detoxification. I can't say enough good things about it. If you're looking for a sauna blanket, if you don't have space for a big infrared sauna, or if you want a infrared way to detox in your home where you can lay down and be most comfortable, I highly recommend. And right now you can get 25% off any Bond Charge item with code MAGNETIC 25. Again, that's code magnetic, all caps MAGNETIC 25 for 25% off during their big end of year Black Friday sale. Enjoy.
All right, on to the episode.
Guys, we are sitting in my brand new office inside my dream home that I manifested over the past year with last year's end of year challenge. This is so surreal because even though I've been manifesting this place for, 10 months, I think it took to fully come in, I feel like my inner child has been manifesting this place since I was about 5 years old. It's interesting because maybe 3 or so years back when we did the authentic code in the challenge, and I really distilled down going through that authentic code questionnaire. What do I spend my free time on? What am I saving on Pinterest? It was abundantly clear. Home was part of my authenticity and authentic code. And it was really cool because I had the opportunity a few years ago to go back to my childhood home. And I wound up finding all of these little things that I had when I was a kid that I still loved home stuff then. I forgot that I used to make little vision boards almost of things that I was going to order when I had a house one day. This is like serious Capricorn kid shit. I would cut out photos from log home living and front gate and pottery barn and be like, I want this paper towel holder. I want this water cooler for my home gym one day. I was designing my homes when I was so young. I used to take 2 pieces of blank paper and make along what architects would have. And I'd sketch out like, okay, we'll have the family room here and we'll have this here. I played The Sims all the time. I was curating, not because I wanted to play the game, because I did whatever the cheat code was to get all the money so I could make any kind of home I wanted to make. I just love this idea of home. When I really root down to the essence, like what was I looking for as such a little kid wanting this home? And I think part of it was I wanted to curate a space that I could be with friends, family, entertain, have people over. Because I didn't feel like I got that in our home. Our home was amazing in so many ways growing up. But it was a ranch style home and everything was pretty open. And one of our living rooms, my parents didn't even have a bedroom door on their bedroom. So there was no real privacy. Like when my friends would come over as a kid, you want to have all your friends, hanging out in a room and doing your thing. You don't want to be hanging out with your parents at the same time. And I think there was a real interest from me, even at a very young age, to cultivate a space that was my own, that I could fully make mine. I remember my mom and I even fantasizing about what we could do to remodel the house and how we really desperately wanted to build a deck on the back of the house and how amazing that would be to have a deck back there to just go out and have pancakes on Sunday morning breakfast and have a cup of coffee. And then I could have my friends over for a talent show or, it was all these kind of dreaming of like how we could fill the space and curate the space. It was just such a passion. I moved around a lot in my young 20s. And once I moved to LA, which is about 8-9 years ago, I moved once. And then after I moved, I was there for 8 years. 8 years. Crazy to be in one apartment for 8 years. And if you think about moving from your 20s to your 30s in one apartment and how many versions of self you become, it is quite impressive. But that apartment took me from, young adulthood into adulthood to like becoming, in my understanding, of a different type of woman, a more self-assured, confident in her power, knowing who I am, knowing my authenticity. It really nourished me through those chapters, through that timeline. And I'm really thankful for it in so many ways. But after many roommates and Daniel moving in and getting engaged and getting a dog and recording all of our podcasts from the living room because it had the best lighting and having to pause for Daniel and Theo to come back from walks because they popped in the background, we really needed a new space. And so what I want to talk with you guys about today on this episode is not just the material item of a home. It's what is the essence of what you are manifesting? How can you get in surrender to the timeline of when it's going to happen, especially if it's something big that may take a little bit more time to come through, divine timing? And how can you kind of balance this space between surrender and unblocking? I think so many times in manifestations, we want things to come quicker. So we're like, that's a block, let's go this, that, this, that. And I think there's kind of a dance between being present and then as the test presents, then unblocking. So let's kick off what was on my home list. Now, this is something that Daniel and I called in together. And we're going to do another episode later in this year, maybe early next year, on manifesting with a partner, a friend, a kid, a business partner, and the nuances of that. So I don't want to dive too deeply into that, but I will say we had to get on the same exact trajectory of what we wanted, which was relatively easy. And then the other thing with manifesting with a partner is really focus on your own stuff, what you can control. And when it felt like we were getting stagnant, there was one point where I had to have a conversation with Daniel where I'm like, I feel like I am pushing this forward and you are just coming along for the ride. I need to know you are pushing just as forward. And this is the timeline I want to do this by. Does this work for you? He said yes. And it felt like a recommitment to this next chapter. And after that, it came through within a month. So just a little tidbit for you guys there. Okay. What did I call in? This is so crazy. Okay. So I called it in on December 3rd, 2023, last December with our end of year challenge. And I manifested it on September 1st, 2024. Tons of light at all hours. Our current place had this. We were so spoiled with this, but the sun to me is just so intrinsic to like my joy and enjoying my space to the absolute fullest and watching the sun dance over, the day and the different hours and all of that. Obsessed. A clear view of the sunset or west facing, floor to ceiling windows in some spaces, or perhaps a bay window, high ceiling in some spaces, updated and clean, a washer dryer, hardwood floor in some spaces, minimum 3-bedroom, 2-bath. So we have room for offices or a guest room, an outdoor space, somewhere Theo can run around, views, a balcony, some kind of vastness, spaciousness, a safe area to walk the dog, close proximity to some sort of coffee shop or restaurant or walking trail, perhaps at the top of a hill or a lookout space that's nearby walks. So I wanted to either be at the top of a hill or like near a hill lookout. The spot that we were in, there was a hill right next to us and you could go up the hill. That would be my like nightly walks. It was just so soothing and amazing. So I wanted either to be at the top of a hill like that, or I wanted something kind of close by. A space for a dining table, open kitchen, counter space, or breakfast bar. I feel truly inspired by the place and it feels homey. Under a certain amount that we had agreed upon would be our budget. Quiet at night, relatively quiet neighborhood, checks shores environments in human design. If you're familiar with human design, they have an environment type of like where you refuel, where you feel best, all those things. And mine and Daniel's is both shores. And the shores environment means that it is a place between where two different terrains or two different worlds collide. So in our old place, we were like half in the mountains and half in the city part. And that felt so freaking good to us that we're like, okay, what is a different version of shores? It doesn't mean necessarily ocean, although it could. It's sort of like where, a mountain and a city collide, or two different parts of town collide, or, it could be a body of water and land collide. Something about that feels really nourishing, especially when I'm working by a window, working with views really, really helps. I've noticed this is a huge game changer. So if anyone is moving or thinking about their workspace or where they get the most like energy and fuel, if you go to myhumandesign.com, put in your info on there, you can get your environment type for free. And then just Google what that type means. There's some really cool Instagram accounts that talk about your environment type, but I found that really fascinating and wanted to honor that going forward to the next place. Bigger closets and a parking space. So that's what we got. It was a lot, but we've been in our old place for a long time. We kind of knew what was the sticking points, what we didn't like, what we absolutely were not going to settle for. We needed a washer, a dryer in this place because there's no more carrying laundry up and down the stairs into a communal place that had broken washers all the time. It was just, we were ready. We were ready for the next spot. So we crafted that list in December, and I will highlight this because I'm going to come back to it later and it does kind of connect. We felt the ping to move probably 3 years before we crafted the list. And I think there was a combination of fear of moving, fear of like, oh, it's going to be expensive. It's going to be a hassle. This place isn't so bad. We're saving a bunch of money by living here. We're really lucky to have like a lot of these things. Can we find a place that like checks the boxes? And we'd go through phases where we'd look for places, but we wouldn't really look, or we'd take a tour or look online. So we were kind of in a holding pattern. And it's interesting when I retroactively was thinking about it, of how my mom and I were daydreaming about this deck, right? This deck we were going to build and how amazing it was going to be and how we were going to curate it. And, shortly after that period, my parents divorced and the deck was no longer on the table, and that wasn't going to happen in that home environment. And I've noticed a lot in this process of manifesting the home, how much I fell into, we have like our blind spot archetypes, the dreamer of it almost felt safer to long for it in the future than it was to actually go actualize it now. It was really comforting, really easeful to just daydream, stay on Zillow, think about what could be, how I would design it, what I would do. But it was a lot scarier to take the action and say, no, we're actually going to move. This is what's going to happen. And so when we put it on the list, it felt so like, oh my gosh, we're actually going to do it this year. And then when I told my accountability buddy, Asha, and when I started telling you guys I was manifesting a home for the next year, it was like, okay, I actually have to follow through with what I'm saying here. So come January of 2024, right after I cast the list, we moved to month. And it was a bit scary because yes, we are now paying this higher price point, but it held us accountable to saying, no, we're not going to stay here this whole year. And we're ready and prepared and willing to actually go for what we want in the next year. I would say pretty quickly after, we started getting opportunities present. I would find spots on Zillow. Zillow was like my main source of searching here. I really became a Zillow queen. I knew everything that came on the property in Los Angeles over the past year, honestly. And we started getting places really, really quickly. Some that were already really shiny carrots, like very, very close, but they'd have like one major issue. A lot of them having to do with outside of the home placements. One of them, the bedroom looked directly into an Erewhon, which is a very busy supermarket in Los Angeles. And it just felt like not checking the noise option, also not feeling super calm. There was another home that so beautiful, but it was east facing. So it got almost no sunlight in it, but like the inside was just so dreamy. So we were getting very, very expanded, but also it was so clear that we could pass those tests. And then February came, and the most spectacular home came on the market. It was over the initial budget that we had written down, but I was like, let's go check it out anyways. Because the other thing I will share with you guys, and this is really important, I think if it works for your manifestation, whether you're calling it a home or any sort of physical item, the IRL experience of physically being around it, physically seeing it. This is why being in person with expanders, whether it's a material expander or a person expander, is so huge. If it felt at all aligned and anywhere close to our budget, I was like, we should go see it in person because I want to stand in the space. I want to feel the energy. I want to visualize what it would look like if we were about to move in here. And that helped expand me so much. So if it felt like a yes looking at it online, and there was maybe like one or two things that felt kind of weird, or maybe it didn't hit the price point, or maybe I wasn't sure about this, I went and scheduled a tour because I was like, you just never know what's going to happen. So we saw this place in February, and it was everything on the list to me and then some. Daniel thinks he didn't really get a good enough office space in this one, but I was like, I have the feeling in here. Theo's amazed by it. It was actually a house that I had saved years prior when it first went on the market because I loved the architecture of the home and all these things about it. And I just thought it was a miracle it was even close to a price range we were at. It's over the price limit, so it's a test, but maybe they'll come down to ours. And we wound up putting in an offer at the price point that we were at, and they were like, yeah, sorry, we have someone that's going to meet us here. And we're like, okay, darn. It was a real bummer, I have to say, because I felt like this was maybe a couple-week process of going back and forth with these people. The realtor was from Chicago, which is where Daniel's from. Like, there was all these kismet things that lined up. The fact that I had saved the house prior and all of these things. Also, the feeling in the house of like, oh my gosh, it just feels so good in here. It feels like home. I hadn't really felt that in any places. I could see how I could make it work, but I never had the feeling in them. I really felt like we lost our manifestation and I was bummed. And this is really important to note for anyone who feels like they missed their manifestation or they missed their opportunity or they passed on something, but they think it could have been it. Your manifestation is not going to miss you. There are multiple of them that exist in the world. There is not one finite person, relationship, home, job. There's not one. And in that moment, it really felt like I fucked up. I don't know what we could have done. Maybe I could have come up in budget. A friend of mine at the time was like, "Well, can you come up in budget?" And I was like, I don't feel comfortable. I looked at my finances and Daniel and I looked at our finances and we were like, we could do it, but oh gosh, I don't know if I feel comfortable doing this. And we didn't. And that's why we stayed to the number we initially put, on our list. And they wound up renting it for the budget that we technically could have afforded, but we're too scared to actually move forward with it. For those reasons, I felt like we had missed the bucket. And I was like, I know in my true self, in my higher self, when I'm in my magnetic essence, I know there will be another house. But there's a part of me that's super bummed by this and feels like, dang, I really just missed out. After that passed, I felt all my feelings, sat with it, and let it go. I did like a little letting go ritual, and I was like, universe, maybe there was a lesson in here I didn't get. I missed what test I was supposed to pass here, or maybe you were just protecting me. Maybe there was something about this house that I didn't know, I couldn't see. Maybe there was mold in the home and I was getting protected. Who knows? But I get it. I accept it. We're not going to move in. If it ever comes in the market again, let us know. And I let it go. And then there was crickets for a while. Like nothing that I saw on Zillow was at all sparking any interest and joy. And I started getting into a bit of dog paddling energy. I was like, oh, I'm so sick of our place. I want to be out. I need more space. I feel so claustrophobic energetically. I need a place to decompress. I need a place to do my work with the door shut. I need to just be out of here. I was just really over our place. And I think this happens a lot when you're just really longing or you get so close to your potential manifestation that it's hard to then go back. You're like 1 foot in your next version of life. You're 1 foot in your up level, but you're not quite there yet. It was actually a very humbling process because I haven't been in that sense of desperation energy with big manifestations in a while. And I was like, I'm going through this so I can help guide other people going through this because I know a lot of people in their community go through this a lot. So here's my tip for anyone that is working on the surrender. What I found was that I had to stop running from the reality in which I was in. Even though I was very close to the next level, even though I was about to step into the next level, I wasn't there. I was in the reality that I was in. I was in the apartment that I had lived in for 8 years. This is my day-to-day. This is where I'm spending my time. And if I am in true surrender and trust with the universe that my dream home is out there and it will come through no matter what, then how can I reframe my relationship to my present living circumstances? So what I did that helped me the most was, okay, let's do a little thought exercise. Let's pretend you know for a fact someone came down and told you for a fact you will be in your dream home in the next few months. And this will be the last time you will ever live in this apartment, in this neighborhood, around these people and friends. This is the last time you're going to enjoy this season of your life where you have a smaller space with your whole family, with Daniel and Theo in it. What do you not want to look back on and think you wish you spent more time doing? And that reframe helped me to see, okay, there's a lot to actually love here right now. It's hard to love it when I want something else and I think that I'm going to be stuck here forever. It's easier to love it when I know that the time here is finite and I'm convinced that it will eventually shift. So once I could accept that it will eventually change, I trust in that. Even if it was in a year from now or 2 years from now, I know it will eventually shift. And if I am going to remain in this spot for this finite amount of time, how can I really soak it in? So what I did to really enjoy it was watching the sun move through the apartment, how I can decorate a tiny little space and curate it even more that feels super aligned. What photos did I want to hang, or little rug or side table lamp, or actually I got the shelf when I was there. What are those little things where I can like curate this smaller space? And then how can I enjoy the neighborhood? We had this beautiful hill at the top of our street. You could walk into this historic neighborhood. You could walk over to, all of these hiking trails not far off, or drive to them in like 3-4 minutes. Utilize it. I might not be over here. So why don't I go there as much as I possibly can? What are the coffee shops on this side of town that I've been just ignoring or not going to? What are the neighbors on our street, the dogs that Theo meets on his walks every day that we can talk to more and get to know? How can I be super present and grateful for what's here? And that changed the game. My relationship to the place changed. My appreciation to it changed. I stopped feeling like I had to escape it, and I started feeling like, okay, I know it will come in the right time and it will feel like magic. You've likely heard the benefits of getting your omega-3s in and your fatty acids, but a new study has come out about the first new nutritional deficiency in 75 years. It's called cellular fragility syndrome, and it's caused by a lack of an essential fatty acid that we didn't even know about. It's called C15. Many as 1 in 3 people worldwide have low levels of C15 and thus cellular fragility syndrome. Without this essential fatty acid, it creates age-related breakdown. The cells are not as strong, they start to break down sooner, it can impair metabolic, liver, and heart health. And that brings me to our latest partner on the podcast, Fatty 15. Fatty 15 has 3 times more cellular benefits than omega-3 or fish oil. It's patented pure, oxidation-resistant C15 powder formula derived from plants and vegan-friendly. Free of flavors, filler, allergen, or preservative. The only ingredient is C15, so it's 100% pure. Now, if you're someone who cares about or thinks about the idea of longevity, this part is going to be really fascinating. So Fatty 15 was co-founded by Dr. Stephanie Van Watson. She was working with the U.S. Navy to continually improve the health and welfare of aging dolphins. And one of the studies that they ran is they noticed certain types of dolphins were living significantly longer lives than other dolphins. And they wanted to understand why. Why were they having better health conditions, less Alzheimer's, age-related diseases, and also their length of life was longer. And when they did this study, they found the number one predictor of their health was having healthy levels of C15. They then continued on a 20-year research journey, really understanding this on a deep level and how it impacts human cells as well. And it's in the exact same way. And what I think is fascinating is one of the natural ways that you can get C15 is through whole fats and whole milks. Or we're not getting that fat or milk from cows that are grazing grass. They're grazing corn. And when that happens, we don't get the high levels of C15, which is why I think so many people are deficient without even noticing it. Now, I started taking this about 2 months ago, and immediately within the first 3 days, I noticed a difference in my digestion, in my mental clarity, in my anxiety, and in my sleep. It impacts you in a whole myriad of different ways, but it helps support the cells. It's like if you were missing one vital nutrient and then you started getting it again, your whole system starts working better. So if you guys are interested in testing out C15 for yourself, you can get 15% off their 90-day subscription starter kit by going to fatty15.com/TBM or using code TBM at checkout for 15% off. Fatty 15 is on a mission to replenish your C15 levels and restore your long-term health. And the other thing I had to do to surrender was I got this ping that said, Your house is not going to be on the market until the fall. Put it down. Enjoy your life. Your spot's coming soon. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to go on Zillow. Initially, the ping was to not go on it for a week. I didn't go on it for 3 days, but I didn't obsessively check even when I went on it after. So I didn't go on for 3 days. And in that time, one of our neighbors in our old spot was like, hey, it's been a crazy heat wave in LA. You guys should come swim at the pool of the building I manage down the street. And I was like, what? Okay, that's amazing, because we don't have a pool at our building. And they had this huge pool, all of this outdoor space where Theo could run around. She's like, yeah, I'll give you a copy of the key. Come by whenever. Help yourself. If you need a break in the afternoon, come for a swim. And it felt like such a nod from the universe of acknowledging I am trying to surrender, but also kind of saying you are on the right path. Have some patience. This is your spaciousness while you wait. Enjoy this kind of mini manifestation that dropped out of the sky out of nowhere. Wasn't calling it in, but it was kind of helping bridge the spaciousness feeling in the meantime. So, as I said in the beginning, I really wanted a home environment that I could entertain, have friends over, felt like a reflection of self. And so a lot of the blocks dealt with going back and talking to my inner child about how we don't have to rush. It was basically like a promise to my inner child. I see you. I'm going to meet your needs. We are going to get your dream house. I don't know if it's going to happen this year or when it's going to happen, but I promise you, I will not give up until we get your dream house one day. And really attuning, what do you want? What do you need? Talking to my inner child in the DIs. That was a huge, just witnessing my inner child's needs was a huge part of it. And then we did the summer challenge. And one of the things I took through was I'm safe to prioritize, my joy, myself, my wants and desires before I start prioritizing others. As someone who feels like they sort of grew up prioritizing everybody else's needs, sort of playing that caretaker role, that felt very uncomfortable for me. And you guys have probably listened to my solo. If you haven't, you can check it out where I talk about how I moved through that block specifically. But the home was a continuation of a need, of an authentic expression of self. And so I had a session with Asha, my accountability buddy. We do like little astrology check-ins every couple months. And she echoed the same thing my ping said, which was that there was a lot of astrological energy in the home section of my chart come this fall. And she'd be very shocked if it did not come through during that time period. And that kind of gave me the vision holding to know it's close. Let's just enjoy this last stretch of where we're at. A friend sent me this one spot in a neighborhood that we hadn't quite checked out. I will also say during this time, because I'm obsessed with the sun and sunsets, we had a couple different neighborhoods we were considering. I walked the streets of nearly every freaking neighborhood to just feel what it felt like over there and if it felt like a true yes. Or if it felt like, gosh, this feels close. This feels like that home frequency. This feels like a spot I'm supposed to be in. I really let my intuition lead me in that regard. It's what got me my first apartment in LA, was just walking around LA, stumbling into buildings and saying like, hey, do you have, space, rent? Can I tour? On the streets that felt really good. So I was doing that again. And there was this one neighborhood that I hadn't quite checked out, but it was very close to a lot of places that I felt the most called. And Daniel and I go look at it. We were kind of disappointed because it was within the price point we set out, but it didn't feel that much different than our current place. It was a little bigger. It had an extra bedroom and a bathroom, but everything else was kind of the same. We're like, if we're going to pay so much more money to leave, I want to be so inspired by this place. I want to be so excited to move. And we probably looked at like 30 some odd places throughout this entire journey. And after we left, we're walking around the neighborhood and we're like, gosh, but the neighborhood feels amazing. Like it feels really good over here. It feels very safe. We're seeing all these families. There's strollers. There's dogs being walked. Like I could really see it over here, but it's just not this place. And then I got this ping. There was one house I had saved that came on the market just that weekend, and it was out of budget. So I wasn't even going to really tour it, but I got the ping, see if they're available, because I knew it was like a couple streets away in this neighborhood. So I messaged the guy. They said they were having an open house that day. Come by. So I was like, amazing. Turn around, come back, go to their open house, and I'm floored. It is the nicest spot we had seen by far. It was the best views in LA I've ever seen. I'm like going to get emotional thinking about it because it is so much more beyond anything I thought was at all possible. And in fact, it was so much of the things that I thought I'd have to wait years and years and years. Like I thought I would have to manifest this house in 5-10 years. Like I didn't think it was possible to rent or lease a place in Los Angeles and get something at this value price point for this home. Like I did not think that that was possible. And stepping in, I got the chills. There was no one in the open house. Not one other person was touring it. They said they had dropped the listing price by $1,000. And if you do a longer term lease, they can drop it another $1,000. And now it was starting to be in the range of our budget. It was everything on the list. I was kind of blown away, shocked. And this is where the real tests came in. So I had the visual tests of, all of these other places, but it was relatively easy to pass them. But the one element this one didn't have was the price point. Their price point, in fact, full circle story here, was the same price point that we said was too high of the house in February. And we're like, this friggin' price point again. Like, I don't know. What do we think about this? Is this too crazy to spend on rent? What are we doing? All of these things back and forth, back and forth. And I want to highlight for anyone out there, so many times people say when your manifestation comes through, it feels like ease. The thought of actually connecting with it will likely feel like ease. But if your manifestation is so much greater than what you were settling for before, my guess is the manifestation is the other side of your growth edge. So you might even have to pass a test to land your manifestation. So here was this home, everything plus so much more on my list. And here I am faced against this financial number again. So I went into a bit of a spiral, I will admit. I called every friend. I asked for every opinion. I wasn't getting a true gut read of what I could do. And I had a lot of ping-ponging. I was like, it's a test because it's over the budget we set. And then I'm like, wait, no, it's a chance for me to like jump off the cliff, spend more on myself. Okay, no, wait, that's dumb. Like it's better if we save more and we could use that money later down the line. And all the societal things you have about expanding into a new level or spending money on yourself, all the messages you picked up, that's pretty much what was thrown at me in those couple days, right? I had a couple days to process viewing it and then deciding whether or not we were going to move forward with it, especially because they had only one other offer on the table at the time. I felt like I couldn't get a grasp on my truth because I was in so much fear programming of what I should do. I also am someone who comes from a good student complex. I want to do the right thing. I want to do the good thing. I don't want to rock the boat. I don't want to have something so shiny that people are jealous of. I don't want people to think my life is too good or gosh, what will my friends think of me spending this much on my rent? And what will my family think? Do they think I'm being stupid with my money? That's a selfish thing to spend that money just on your rent. Like every limiting belief I've ever picked up around money came just pouring into my conscious awareness, hitting me. And in the moment, it's really hard to discern, is this fear or is this rational thought? And this is the tip I want to give you guys. And this is what really, really, really helped me. If it is guiding you down a path of fear, of limiting belief, of panic, of do this because it's, if you don't, it's dumb or whatever. If it's to fit in, if it's an old narrative that you've heard your whole life, take a pause before taking that in. The number one thing that helped me get to the place of clarity was grounding my nervous system. I did so many freaking DIs that week. I was doing the freeze or fawn DI. I was doing the fight or flight. I was doing the safe DI. So after really settling in, like, I'm going to cut the noise. I'm going to stop asking people about this. I'm going to stop calling friends. I'm going to stop asking for advice. I am just going to sit with what feels true for me, what feels right for me. And I reviewed all of my journal entries about the home. So when I had big expander tests like that one from February, I would write down how it expanded me. What did I see? What did I feel? What did I witness? What specifically about it expanded me? What were the tests or triggers that came up about this place? And was I expanded enough and unblocked enough to pass those tests or triggers? What were those blocks that may be standing in my way of actually being able to pass them? What fears, limiting beliefs, feeling of not deservingness came up? And if I had gotten that manifestation, what would it bring me? How would I feel? If you do that for all of your big expander tests, you are going to learn so much and is going to help you truly integrate it so much more. And so when I went back and reviewed that for some of my big expander tests throughout this cycle, the number one thing I was tested on, other than will I settle for this item, was do I feel comfortable spending this much money on myself? Do we feel comfortable spending this much money on ourselves, on our home, on this material thing? But it was crazy looking back that the root of that, I didn't feel expanded or unblocked enough to pass that test because I felt really uncomfortable at the thought of spending that type of money on myself. I thought that was crazy. And now, 7, 8, 9 months later, here I am faced with the exact same test about finances. And I'm a Capricorn, so I am a budget queen. I know where every dollar goes every single month. I am very type A with it. Part of it is to feel a sense of control and autonomy over my finances, but also part of it has allowed me to have more freedom with my finances because I can see what's coming in, what's going out, and where it's going, how I'm utilizing it, right? I looked at Ramit's budgeting. He talks a lot about rent versus buying and all of the opportunities there. And I also looked at his monthly budget breakdown, and I must have run the numbers on this a million times. But in his numbers, and I'm going to bring out his book, I Will Teach You to Be Rich. Highly recommend it. He says, for your budgeting, now this is after taxes. So anyone who's like, okay, well, how do I know if it was in my budget, out of my budget, if I was settling, etc. This is how I figured it out. 50 to 60% of your take-home pay after taxes should cover your rent, utilities, or any fixed bills that come up every month. So if you have a phone payment, your AC, electric, your utilities, your rent, all of that stuff should be under your fixed payment, 50 to 60% of your take-home pay. 10% to your investments, your 401k, your Roth IRA, I think HSA probably falls into that category. Any online investments, if you're investing in the market, etc., 10%. Savings, 5 to 10% of your take-home pay a month just goes towards your vacations, a future house down payment, emergency fund, your FU fund. And then he says 20 to 35% guilt-free spending. This is dining out, drinking, movies, clothes, shoes. For me, coffee shops. What are all those things that if you had to cut them out of your budget or lower them in some way, shape, or form, you could. But if you are within your budget, if you're within that 20 to 35%, enjoy your life. So when I really looked at this Ramit budget breakdown and I looked at where Daniel and I were at financially, it was totally feasible that we could apply for this place. It was still extremely scary. But the thing that gave me that trust muscle, that this was the right thing to do, that I was actually at my growth's edge for doing this, was the fact that I could look back on how many years I had written about my authentic code being home. How many years I wrote what it would bring me to have a home that I could have a sense of community around, where friends could come do working days from our dining room table, and we could host dinner parties and do sunset gazing in the backyard and be outside, to take breaks between my workday and just ground in nature in our land on our property, to be able to plant a garden. I have been dreaming and writing about this for years and years. I mean, since I was literally 5 years old, I have been dreaming of this space. And the moment was here. And what it required of me was to get comfortable putting money on myself, of saying, I prioritize my authentic code. I prioritize my needs. I'm not doing it haphazardly. I'm not doing it absentmindedly. I'm still being smart and following a budgetary plan to not put myself into debt. But I am saying that I am going to take this leap. One thing that can happen a lot when you're so used to that scarcity mindset is, even if you're in the confines of a healthy budget, right? Even if you literally see on paper, okay, I can make this work based off of this financial expert's advice of how I should budget my take-home pay. What if, and this is where the fear starts to lead, what if the market changes? What if the banks collapse? What if I lose my savings? What if the stock market turns down? What if, we have to move home for some reason and now we're in this lease and we owe all this money? You could think of a million reasons why it wouldn't work out. For that, I wound up doing the worst case scenario DI. I journaled on every single what if my brain could pick up about how this could turn out to be a bad financial decision. And I really sat with it and said, there are also an equal number of ways that you could figure out how to move through that. If you burn through your savings for some reason, then guess what? You just rebuild again. If you had to move home, then you talk to the landlord and you'd figure out how that you would be able to move home. Why I would have to move home? I have no idea, but this is what happens when your what ifs start to take the driver's seat. And that worst case scenario DI was so key in helping me shift from that lack scarcity mindset into, you are safe to take care of your needs financially and first. It felt so foreign. It's always felt so. I'm not even gonna lie. It has always felt foreign to put money towards things that are just for me. It's one thing if it's a group trip or it's for a family or it's for something that has to get done or I have to do, but spending money on big ticket items for myself has felt very strange to me. It's been an adjustment to learn how to say, you are deserving of this. You are worthy of this. You don't have to just go fill everyone else's cup. You can fill your own. You've gotten here, you should celebrate it, enjoy it. And so we said yes. And the other offer, even though they were coming in at almost full ask, which was more than we were coming in at, I felt very, very confident. And then when we got the call, we were accepted, I burst out into tears. Full body tears, just felt this sense of magic with the universe of like, I can't believe this happened. I can't believe I am living this life. I can't believe I am here in this moment in time. And I'm going to get to feel so nourished, and that I honored this promise to my inner child, to show up for her, to be there for her, to listen to her needs and to value her desires and wants. And now we're in this beautiful space and I have this most gorgeous view staring outside of me. You probably can see my eyes keep scanning over to both windows in here. It's just really magical. There are only a few short months left in 2024. And one of the things we love to do here at To Be Magnetic is to take our entire community through a challenge where we can understand and integrate everything that we have learned, the patterns we may have missed, the themes and the lessons that we've needed to integrate from this year. and really double down on who we authentically are at this season in life, and then craft our manifestation lists for 2025 with intention. And that is exactly what we're going to be doing, kicking off on November 4th. And the best news of all, our membership is on sale right now. You can get over 20% off the TBM Pathway membership and get full access to not only all of our challenges, but all of our workshops and our entire Deep Imagining libraries. Our Deep Imaginings are self-hypnosis audios that will take you into a deep theta state where you can access your subconscious thoughts, memories, and beliefs and overwrite them into new empowering ones. So if you've been on the fence and listening to the podcast and thinking about joining, this is your sign. Join with the sale, get the lowest prices of the season, and lock in your membership before we kick off our challenge. Make 2025 the year that you really honor yourself and manifest what you actually authentically want. Join with our sale, and we cannot wait to see you in there. Check out the link in the show notes or go to tobemagnetic.com, and you can find the sale prices on the main website. Someone asked about, what Kismet things came through that you knew it was a space. Two major ones that I was thinking of that really popped into my mind. One of which was, I didn't realize when we first saw, I knew it was west facing, but I didn't know how expansive the view was. And I asked to come back at sunset and like golden hour, because it's my favorite time of day. Just curious how it felt. And we literally saw the sun, the ball of sun, be able to fully set. And that to me was like this wink nod from the universe, because so many times when I was on my neighborhood hikes and I was scouting other neighborhoods, you don't realize, like, even if something has high elevation, there are mountains and hills and other things can block it. There could be buildings, there could be this, there could be that. And there'd be neighborhoods where I was like, oh, this definitely is a clear view. And then I go there at sunset, I'm like, oh, this whole area kind of blocked it. That's interesting. But to have this completely unobstructed view of the sunset was just mind-boggling, and something I didn't even know that we were going to get before we got it. This other piece was when the fear was kicking up and I was feeling dysregulated and not grounded in my nervous system. I've noticed that when I'm grounded in my nervous system, my pings are clear. Like I can hear a voice in my head that's like, this is the place, or it's not going to be on the market until the fall. Like those sorts of things just come through in words almost. But when I'm not clear and I'm really like, tell me what to do. What's the right answer? What should I do? What should I do? I can ground into visuals. Sometimes it takes music to kick off to like calm my nervous system, my mind a little bit from racing. But then I will start to get visuals of like future things. And I had a similar feeling and vision in the house where when we came back at sunset and I was during that ping pong phase, I walked around the home and I saw Christmas in the living room, and I saw my dad and then my mom coming to visit. I saw Daniel's parents coming to visit and staying with us. I saw holidays. I saw friends over. I saw little toddler legs shimmying through the living room as well. I don't know if that's my toddler or a friend's kid, but I saw kids about. It's almost like a vision into your future. It was like this moment of like, yeah, that can happen here. This can be the space that will hold you. So that was another big Kismet moment. And then right after we put in our like application and everything, and we were waiting to hear back, I was walking around the neighborhood, just taking it in, enjoying it. And I saw this flock of geese fly over. And you probably have these moments, these times where you see things in nature, whether it's an animal or just something, a sunset, and just something about it speaks to you. Like it hits you in the chest where you're like, this is a sign for you. It's like a Kismet moment where you just know, you've no real explanation why, but you're just like, that was a sign that I needed to see. And something told me the geese was a sign. And I was like, I wonder what geese mean. I'm going to look this up. And so I saw it. I felt this like really passionate energy about it. And I looked it up and it said a flock of geese can symbolize community and fellowship, and how a unified flock of geese can symbolize a unified community for a greater purpose, for something bigger than the individual goose. And this felt like a lightning bolt of truth, not only because the house represents a space where I want to cultivate more community with our friends, family, coworkers, future family, all of the things, but also because I had been getting a ping for a while that part of this move into this space and why I was craving spaciousness specifically is because I needed to ground my energy, my soul, my essence, so I can help reach out to more people, to help positively impact more people. It's kind of like the visualization of a tree. A tree can only grow as tall as its roots can grow deep. And there was this really deep feeling of trueness when I thought about this concept of how the TBM community, the communities that my other podcast clients are building, the community that I'm even building with my Instagram, all of these different pockets and communities that I'm a part of need me to ground in, to plant my roots deeper, to feel more secure, more stable, more myself, more safe in my own essence, so then I can then support the branches of the tree, the leaves. Like, how can I be one of the vessels to like go out and expand and reach other people? It felt like so clear. You can't be in calls all day without taking a break in nature, and you're going to need that nature close by to help restore you to give back out, restore you to give back out. And that felt so incredibly true. And it felt like the geese was just a symbol of all of that. So that's how I manifested the home. I guess the other big thing I want you guys to take away from this is, what does your manifestation represent to you? My home represented my nourishment, my safety, my security, my ability to return to self. My office is equal parts office and a reflection of my favorite books and a little wellness zen. How can you, even on a small scale, create those spaces that nourish you? Are you looking for your manifestation to nourish you? And if so, what are ways that you can nourish yourself in the in-between? And also, when you are looking at tests, and this actually, going through the tests with this home sparked our entire test protocol that we're going to be launching later in this challenge on week 5. But when you're looking at the test, I easily could have looked at that and said, oh, it's a test because it's over this number, or it's a test of my growth's edge that I need to step up and actually know that I am worth and deserving of spending money on myself and my needs. I could have gone down either track. You have to root down to, what is the route of fear? What is the route of your limiting belief? What is the route of what gets you stuck and not moving forward and just sitting and daydreaming about your deck, but not actually making it your reality? There was a lot of moments where I had to really accept it feels safer to daydream about my dream home than it is to actually face what I need to do to get there, what I need to do budgetarily, monetarily, energetically, even just scheduling appointments. Like I said, there were 2 years where I wanted a new home, but I wouldn't even write it on my list and took no action in following it. But I knew in my soul I wanted it. So why couldn't I even admit to myself that that is something I wanted to prioritize? So I think get curious about all that stuff, especially during this authenticity challenge. Is your manifestation glaring you in the face of something that your soul has been needing and craving for a long, long time? And how can you honor that part of you? How can you have a corrective experience now through that manifestation? One other thing I want to note is this home has given me, because it came through in such a magical way and so much bigger and not bigger in size, but bigger in how well it could nourish what I am truly authentically lit up by, to the point of having my favorite type of tree, the eucalyptus tree, to be able to smell out my office window, to having a garden that hummingbirds flock to every single day naturally before even needing to plant anything, to having a rosemary bush and lavender that's already there. Like all of these things are all part of my essence that I'm just authentically drawn to that I didn't even write on my list that it had. And because it came through so magically, there could be the impulse to be fearful, right? Like, oh God, this is a once in a lifetime thing. I better not mess it up. Or what if something happens and I want to be able to have it forever? I'm in such trust now. My trust muscle with the universe and with my manifestation process is so much greater because this place came through, because I saw when I stepped through my growth edge, I got all of this magic. If the time ever came where we're like, okay, we've evolved past this house, or this part of our house isn't lighting us up anymore, or we need something different, or we want this, I have every trust, faith in the world that we could find that next place as well. Look at even the fact that back in February when we missed out on that house, I thought that was our shot. And now we're here in this space and it feels even more aligned than that place even did. So for anyone who feels like they missed out or their manifestation's not out there, it's out there. It's out there in so many different beautiful, amazing ways that will truly nourish your soul and fill you up and support you and make you believe in magic again. It is out there. Just face your fears. Be honest with yourself. Be in integrity when you are not in surrender, and that's okay. Compassion to you. But how can you start to stop putting your manifestation or the timing of your manifestation on this pedestal that you're just like longing for? You're just daydreaming about. You don't need to daydream about it. It's coming. Follow your pings, process your emotions, process your blocks, move through the stuff that is coming up. You don't need to find new blocks. Move through the stuff that is coming up. Look at those elements. My biggest block I had to move through, I didn't even get presented with it until the moment I had to figure out if this was my home or not. I was unblocking other stuff and nourishing my inner child, and letting them know I'm there for them. But that big block came in when I faced that scarcity piece. So just keep showing up to your present day, figuring out how to support yourself, and I promise your manifestation is out there. It wants to connect with you, especially if you are coming from a place of your truly authentic self. And just stay present to what's happening right now. If this was the last time you were going to be at this chapter of your life, how can you enjoy it more? How can you support yourself more here? How can you have gratitude for the space that's around you in this moment in time? Time is so fleeting, and we are so excited to go on to the next and the bigger and the better and the this and the that and the growth and all the things. And that's beautiful, but don't be so excited for the next that you miss out on the now. The beauty is in the now. Whatever the material outside thing is, that feeling of safety and connection to self and that ability to trust yourself, to care for yourself, to meet your own needs, to follow your heart, to follow your passions, to lead with your authenticity and authentic self, that is the thing that we are all truly manifesting. And all of these beautiful manifestations are just little gifts on the way to getting there. So cheers to your authentic self. Know you are so deserving and worthy of honoring your authentic selves. I can't wait to see what you guys manifest through this challenge. And I can't wait to see what your relationship to your authentic self is and really finding what is your way of doing everything. What is your truth? That is what I hope that you take away from this challenge more than anything, is a deeper connection to your truth, your yes, your no, even when and especially when it doesn't look like anyone else's. So you can take all of the programming, the shame, the pain, the shoulds, all of that, and say, but for me, this is what I need to do. Okay, sending you guys love. I hope you all enjoyed that episode as much as we did. And if you're starting to get a feel for this to be magnetic manifestation process, but aren't completely sold yet, let me point you to some of our free offerings. You can check out the expanded podcast episode called How to Manifest Anything You Desire, where Lacey, the founder, and I break down exactly what this process is all about. You can check out The Motivation, which is our testimonial library with thousands of testimonials of people who have manifested wild things using this process. Or you can check out our free mini workshop to find out why you're not manifesting and listen to one of our proprietary deep imagining audios, where it's going to help you drop into your theta state and overwrite low self-worth limiting beliefs. Enjoy! We'll see you next week.